Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Good to see everybody coming in. Hey, Kathy, number one in here. All right, God bless. Much love. Good to see you, girl. And budget number two. You're number two in here tonight. God bless. Hello, Peachy. Hello to you. Good to see you. And number three, Lisa. How you doing, girlfriend? Hey, Peachy, much love, beautiful lady. Much love to you. God bless. I hope everybody enjoyed the Sabbath. I hope you enjoyed your Sabbath. And let's see. Hey, Mara, you are number three. You're number three, I believe, or maybe four. Maybe four. Hold on. Yeah, you're number four. Number four tonight, girl. All right. Good evening, PG and chat mods. Much love. Much love to you. You know it, girl. Hey, Robin. How you doing, sweetie? Good to see you. Pam, I see you, girlfriend. There you are. She said, hey, PG mods in chat. Hey, hey, hey to you, Pam. Ann, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see you. Hello and God bless PG. Hello and God bless you, sweetie. Good to see you coming in here. Miss Justice 1111. There you are. Close to the top where I thought I'd find you. Right? You're always close to the top. God bless. Much love. Good to see you in here. Deputy Sheriff, good to see you. Good to see you. I seen you earlier as I was coming in. Robin, how you doing? She says, hey, Deputy Sheriff. Let me get down through here. There's Texas Blue, PG, much love. Much love to you, girl. Texas Brat Brat, that is beautiful. So appreciate it. So appreciate it. God bless. All right. Hey, Kimmy, how you doing, Carolina? Good to see you. Good to see you. Suzanne, there you are, girl. There's Sue. How you doing? Oh, that is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Amen. Amen. Absolutely prayers for her to be found. Hey, Molly, good to see you in here tonight, girlfriend. God bless and much love. All right. Um, I believe we did hit the bottom there. But I appreciate everybody, every one of you, every last one of you in the chat. I appreciate you being here. God bless and much love to all of y'all. Absolutely. Absolutely. Welcome everyone. Please hit that thumbs up for Summer's channel. Let's keep her name and face out there. Absolutely. On these streets. And don't forget to sub up. Share this live out. Thank you. Amen. I appreciate that, Brat. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that is, hey, I tell you, girl, that is so appreciated right there. That is so appreciated. Prayers for all in need. Prayers for all the missing children. Tons of prayers, friendship, hugs, love for Summer's Army from Oklahoma. Hey, we appreciate it. God bless. God bless. And prayers to you. Prayers to you. Pink Butterfly says, hey, y'all, I'm tired. I started working third. Hey, girl, I'm going to tell you. Whoa. Yeah, I know how that is. Mm-hmm. That, wow. Third shift, that just throws you all out of whack. I've worked third shift and I hate it. I hate it. You're up all night and all day. I ain't one of those people. I can't sleep through the day. Yeah, we're a little early in here tonight, Cindy. Absolutely. Good to be in here. Good to be in here early, but we got a lot to go through. I didn't get through the whole interview with Marlena on the other night, and I told you guys I would bring it back in for you. But first, I'm going to cover the AI videos that you guys are seeing out there. I believe they're coming out of Nigeria, um, and they're all fake, all fake. Um, it don't take much to put AI videos out. I'm going to share one with you guys uh, at the end of all of this tonight. Um, you know that that I have put together um, to show you. You know, but the one I put together was, because we know everything about Summer's case. It's easier for us to put more truthful AI videos together. Um, More truthful AI videos together than the average, people who out there who are just seeking, you know, self gain. They don't know nothing about the case, so they're just putting what little bit they can copy and paste from here and there, and then having a story generated that has like no truth to it, and it's it's really making the buzz. It's making the buzz out here. I've had so many people send these to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are all fake. All right, they're all fake. So, but it says, shocking. 5 minutes ago, TBI found remains of Summer Wells. No, no, Summer has not been found. She has not been found. Law enforcement is still working diligently on Summer's case. They have been checking into leads here and there. They have been trying to pull in some people who they feel may be holding some information that can, that can help Summer's case, could help, solve it. But it's like most of these people don't want to talk. They don't. But sooner or later, they'll get that piece they need to to solve this all up. So yeah, we just gotta have faith. We just gotta keep faith, right, and keep moving forward. Um, if this case would have been in California, it'd have been solved, right? If it was in California, it would have been solved. If it was in Georgia, it would have been solved. If it was in Florida, it would have been solved. Um, you know, it's just in a bad place where things don't get solved. That's my opinion. Here's some more. Here's some more. Summer Wells is, deceased, and terrible confession by her, by the dad, and the lies, on notice. She took Summer Wells. This is all AI BS, and and no truth to it. I mean, you can do truthful AI videos. You can, but you have to know everything about the case, and basically, um, you really better like, being a writer and so forth and so on. Because if you don't like writing, AI is not for you. Um, unless unless you just want to make up stories, put a few words in and make up some little story or something. But I mean, if you're going to do it, use AI for missing children's cases. You better really like to write, because there's a lot of writing. You got to put a lot of details and everything in there, and you got to put the whole thing together. And then you've got to um, pay for the app, to you know ungenerate all the pictures and stuff for the um, for the video that you're wanting to put together. And so you're not only paying for one part of an AI, you got to pay for the other part of the AI. Which I did. And I put a video together, and I'll be putting more of them together, because I like writing. I think it's fun. I like messing around with new technology, right? I love new technology, and I like to see how it works, put it to the test, and so forth and so on. So we're going to do that. And see how it works out. But I have a, preview of a video tonight. Like I said, we're going to be sharing with you. Human remains found, Morrison Cemetery. And, remains found, Fred, shocking. Fred didn't ever say anything about Summer being in Morrison Cemetery until Andy did, until Jody Sue and Andy did. Fred didn't ever really mention Morrison Cemetery at all. That was Andy. So, see, they don't even know which one of them was talking about, Summer being in Morrison Cemetery. So that tells me that, this is all fake, it's all BS, and they definitely, know nothing about Summer's case. They're just, like I said, catching what they can here and there, throwing it into AI and letting it roll, and hoping people, a whole lot of people click on it, and they have, and that's how they, how they make their self gain off of a missing child. But I believe this is coming out of Nigeria. It's not even coming out of the United States at all. And there's plenty of them. There's all kinds out there. And if you want to put it out of business, I mean, if you like listening to, to fake stories, if you like to listen to, just made up stuff, it probably would be, interesting if you just, but, I don't like to, listen to fake stuff when it comes to a missing child. This kind of stuff right here, it's okay to make these AI videos, about some fairy tale stories and stuff, right? For people to listen to, maybe, flip on a story, to listen to while you go to sleep or something, some made up story. But it shouldn't be being done with real missing children's cases, because it's misleading. It messes up the case. It puts out too much false information. People don't know what to believe, what not to believe, and it just destroys everything. And all the work that real creators has put into it, and all the time spent in the research and everything, just gets everything misconstrued. And PG, why are we getting ads now? You're getting ads now because PG can't afford to keep going, paying all this monies to keep this channel up. I've done it for 4 years. I've done it for 4 years, and everybody else, everybody else is using the ads and everything. Um, all the other creators, even the ones that, all the ones coming sideways at me, saying that, that I have been out here for, some self gain off of these missing kids. I haven't ever been here for any self gain whatsoever. But if I'm going to be accused of it, right? If I'm going to be accused of it, um, then why not save myself a few bucks? Um, when it comes to everything I'm putting into this channel, you know, um, I really, I really should have asked for more help to run Summer's channel from day one, instead of trying to do it all on my own. I've been doing it, for the majority on my own. Because this channel, ain't like everyone else's channel. This channel over here is freedom of speech, right? Which means that, we don't really make nothing. Everything gets, a lot of videos have to be taken away because I allow freedom of speech. A lot of stuff has to be taken away because, we don't tolerate no BS here, right? We don't let people come at us sideways and not, put on our suit of armor and our steel-toed boots and do what needed to be done to evil human beings that, are very not good. But I hear these people talking about PG. I hear them all talking about PG and how PG is, out here just for the self gain and this and that and one thing and another, and I'm not. I ain't never been. I didn't play no ads till tonight. But here they are talking about me, and they got 100 ads. 100 ads every time, I go into their channels, and I get hit with ad after ad after ad. Nobody says nothing. Nobody says nothing about their ads. And, they seem to love it. They seem to love it. And, I didn't ever have any ads, and yeah, Justin does. Justin has ads. Dolly has ads. A lot of these people have ads. And actually, most everybody has ads. And we didn't have ads, and Summer's channel. I can't keep paying. I mean, I just paid, for the AI apps, to do what I'm doing tonight. It was about 50 or 60 bucks out of my pocket, just to do what little bit I'm doing tonight. And it's very costly. It's very costly paying StreamYard, paying, internet, paying for all these apps and all the research and everything that you got to do to run this channel up here gets you into, a few $100 a month, right? I ain't never complained. I haven't ever complained about it, not once, but I'm always getting accused I'm always getting accused of, and I thought to myself, why are all of is it why is it okay for all these other people to get help with their channel and not us? Why is it okay for everybody else? Why should I be punished? Why should I be punished to do it all on my own? I mean, ain't I working? I think I personally work harder than a lot of these people out here. I think I work a lot harder. Right? I really, if I'm covering a child's case, I really do a thorough job at doing it. I find all the things that other people, once I do, they use it, right? They use it. And they get credit for it. I don't. They get all the credit, even though I was the one that said it, I was the one that found it. I'm doing a whole lot. And I don't feel I'm getting the respect I deserve for everything that I do. It's like I've been punished out here for 4 years and I don't know why. And I don't know. But I just decided I'm not going to be punished no more. I'm just as good of a YouTuber as anyone else is out here. And I tell the truth. I tell the truth. And I do the homework and I do the research. I make the phone calls. I put together tons and tons of content. I don't pull up one picture or the news station and just let it play out. I do it right. I do it right. And, and I think this channel here, deserves, Summer's channel over here deserves to get just as much help to keep it running as anyone else's does. I shouldn't have to do it all on my own. So that's why there's ads. That's why there are ads. And I'm going to start running this channel differently. As I said, I'm not going to address haters anymore. They can hate if they want to hate. They can say what they want to say. I'm going to leave them to God. He can do a better job with them than PG could ever do. I don't need to get in that cesspool of hate. And I'm not going to anymore. I'm not going to. I don't care what they got to say. Because I know the truth. And God knows the truth. And I know that God's children know the truth. So, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not coming on here, to run some kind of a crap show. I'm not doing it. I'm here for these missing kids. I'm here to shut down stuff like this right here. This is not helping Summer's case. It's hurting Summer's case because none of it is true. And, and then people's not going to know what to believe or not to believe in Summer's case. And then when some real stuff does come out, people's not going to believe it because of stuff like this right here. And that's, and that's the problem. That's the problem, and I say, don't click on this stuff because it's out of Nigeria. That it's people that's just, being evil and trying to use these missing kids in order to get, self-gain over there. They know nothing about what's going on here. Except what little bit, they're throwing in. They've hit the true crime community and started throwing in what they can copy and paste and make a story out of. And they don't care how it comes out because they don't care about America or the American people and especially the American missing children. And I say, don't click on this, don't click on it. It's not, something I would click on, but I can't tell other people what to do and not to do. Everyone's free to do as they please. I hope they wouldn't, but if they do, you know, I just got to say it is what it is. I don't click on them. I don't click on them out of respect for these missing kids. I don't click on none of these videos out of respect for Summer because I know I stay close to this case. I make sure that, I contact TBI. I make sure I stay very close to everything going on, and I keep up to date, keep up with all the research and everything happening in Summer's case. And, I stay up to date pretty much with Michael Vaughn's case. I stay up to date with Sebastian Rogers' case. Matter of fact, it was just a phone call made in that case. And, I stay pretty much up to date on all of these missing children's cases, Jack and Lily Sullivan. Um, Even though, I mainly do Summer's case, but I stay up to date on all of them because I care about all of these missing kids. I want them all found. I want them all brought home. I want justice served. Little Emmanuel, his parents were arrested yesterday. That was a big thing, right? That was a really big thing for, the true crime community. It's great seeing that Emmanuel's going to get justice, even though they didn't find him. They found enough to, make arrest and pull him in and get the job done. Out there, right here's the pictures. That right there is Emmanuel's daddy right there. They're bringing out. He's barefooted, acting like somebody should care about his feet. Here's the mother right there. They're taking her and putting her where she needs to be, right? They're putting her right where she needs to be. After, fibbing up the fibs that she told. I mean, it was just super obvious that she was fibbing it up, right? And this is a main area that they're very interested in. I'm not sure what they believe is in this area, but they're going over it with a fine tooth comb. They went in, and took out the two parents and arrested them now, going to prosecute them up. They believe that grandma had something to do with all of this as well. They're trying to get more information out of grandma, as we speak, to my understandings. And, California ain't going to play. They ain't going to play with, a little baby being done like this. They're going to get something done with it. And, it's just sad that Summer's case wasn't in a place like this where law enforcement don't play with you. Because I believe if, Summer's case would have been over in Georgia, if it had been in Florida, if it would have been out here, I believe it would have been solved. And, that's my opinion. I believe Don, Candace, even Grandis would have been in jail now. And, because they don't play. They don't, they're not going to worry about having the child. They're going to worry about having the evidence. And it's a sad thing because Hawkins County, in my opinion, they destroyed all the evidence. Hawkins County ain't got no evidence because unlike California, unlike Georgia, unlike Florida, Hawkins County destroyed the evidence. They can't use evidence because they ain't got none. They destroyed it all, right? They destroyed it all. And they can't go back and get it. They can't go back and get it. Once you make that kind of mistake, once you drop the ball that bad on a case, you can't get it back. And that's what they did. And it's not that these people are innocent. It's that these people, was able to, you know, brown nose enough to get the crime scene, destroyed, so that, they wouldn't have to be put in prison. Um, they were smart enough to say, "Come on in, law enforcement, come on in and destroy everything." What you could have used, you won't be able to use, and that wasn't, um, nobody's fault but law enforcement themselves, because Hawkins County wasn't ready. They wasn't prepared, and they wasn't ready to handle a case like Summer Wells' case. They had never had, anything like that happen before. They didn't know how to handle it, and they totally, you know, destroyed it. If you ask me, that's my opinion. Um, Hey, I appreciate that, and I appreciate it absolutely. Um, Became a YouTube member. I appreciate it. God bless. Much love. Oh, I appreciate the super sticker too. Hey, girl, you you gave PG a double right there, and I really appreciate it. God bless. God bless. You blessed me twice to right and roll. I appreciate it. And let me see here. Hey, Jackie, I appreciate that too. Member for 26 months. Hey, God bless. Much love. I appreciate that. I really do. But yeah, they, they really dropped the ball on Little Summer's case, and it's really sad because, that evidence, even if you ain't got the child, if you got enough evidence, you can prosecute. And that evidence was destroyed the minute that Ronnie Lawson went up there like good old friend instead of law enforcement, and, let it people trample all over the place and didn't do. Um, you know, there was no protocol to do what needed to be done to preserve and save and get what they needed and could have used. It's just a sad case. It's a sad case, And now they're grabbing at threads. They're grabbing at threads, trying to, you know, um, pull out of everything that they done messed up. That's my opinion. I'm going to keep it. But they're not doing that here. They're not doing that here. They're really focused though on this area, and I hope they find this baby. I really do. I hope they do find him. And they do believe he's deceased on alive. And if he is, you know, either way, I hope they find him, whether he's alive or not alive. I hope they find this little guy. And if he's not with us anymore, I hope that they lay him to rest, properly. I hope he just laid away properly where people can go and you know put little teddy bears and toys and so forth on the little guy, and let him know how much we all cared, right? How much we all cared. God bless him. God bless him. But it's a sad case. Very sad. One that shouldn't have happened. This is a case I don't believe should have ever happened, because, if they would have did what was right, if they'd have done what was righteous in the sight of God, when this little girl right here was, hurt so bad and put through everything she was put through at the hands of that dad, and to my understandings, according to the family, they said, that this little girl, sustained, some severe abuse at the hands of the dad, allegedly. And law enforcement should have did their job. They should have did their job and put him in prison for that. The second child shouldn't have, there should have been no second child to have to endure anything because he should have been, in prison from what he done to the first one, um, which is really, really sad. But, that's the same way with Summer's case. I mean, you had Candace and Donald. Donald's up in Utah, trying to sell his son and his daughter, and he's over in Arkansas, picking up all these homeless women with children and bringing them to him and Pam, bringing them back to their house, um, letting essayers, people who essay children, hang around and do bad stuff to these children at the house there. Matter of fact, law enforcement and child protective services came in there, in Arkansas, came into Don's residence and Pam's, and took out a bunch of children because and none of them, they wouldn't give them back. These kids were not returned to the parents. They weren't given back, but they were taken because of, essaying. And it's a very, it's tragedy. It's a tragedy, you guys, to even think about that kind of stuff, or people being evil enough to allow this to happen, right? But that's what they were doing there. And we got Candace, during the time Don's in Utah, we got Candace, running around in Wisconsin, um, up there, with a couple of children, and one of them, ended up like this little girl right here. One of them ended up not being able to live a normal life ever. The other one couldn't really live a normal life from being shuffled through the system, right? And don't want nothing to do. They don't, them kids want nothing to do with Candace at all, or Grandis, or any of them, and don't care to let people know it. And, it's just a tragedy. It's a tragedy, right? And look, see, if they'd have did what was right, up there in Wisconsin, when it came to the little boy, Candace's little boy who was done like that, then none of this, right? None of this would be going on now. And and if they would have, Candace also had a child over in Arkansas, which, allegedly was, a born addicted to illegal substances and everything. And if they would have just, did if the law enforcement would have did their job over there, well, maybe, you know, there'd have been no Tennessee. There'd have been, we wouldn't be here now over summer. If they would just, if they would just do what needs to be done with the first children, we wouldn't be here with second and thirds. That's what I'm trying to say. And, but the law's too easy. The law's too easy on these people who, abuse and destroy little children. They're just too easy. And we have to try to get that, get that turned around. We really need to get that turned around, right? Exactly, PG. There is so many creators out there supporting the whales, yet they have to ask themselves why their children were taken away, right? Exactly. Um, PG, you never liked me because I'm a psychic medium. I have retired my temple hat. I would love to chat with you. Um, Go get the ads. You deserve them. God bless you. Hey, I appreciate that. Another I appreciate your support for Summer's channel, and I'm glad to hear you hung up the temple hat. I really am. I'm glad to hear that. I always like to hear people's gotten onto the righteous path and away from the wrong one. You know, um, I do worry about people's souls. I cannot lie. I worry about my own. I worry about other people too. You know, I like to see everybody. I like to see everybody in heaven, not somebody, but everybody. I hope everybody gets righteous. You know, um, and I'm like I said, you know, I'm done. I'm done out here with the hatred and all the stuff because that ain't who I am, and it's not who I'm going to let these people make me into. I'm above all of that. I'm above all of that. I want all of you to be above that too. I want you to be above it as well. And I've always tried to keep you above it. I've always tried to keep you on the right path, and I'm going to continue to do that. But I need to get on that path with you. I need to get on it with you, and we all need to be walking the right path. And like I said, I'm just steering away from the hatred, and so I'm not even addressing it. I leave it to God. I hope these people change. I hope they change. I hope they really find God. I hope they get their eyes open, to the cesspool they're in, and they get out of it. I really do. And I like to see everybody up there in heaven. I know everybody ain't going to be, because it wouldn't be a bad place if everybody's going to get to the good place. But hey, it don't make me, it still don't change the fact that I like to see everybody there and not somebody. I mean, I'd like to see Hades empty, right? I'd like to see hell empty, to be honest with you. I like to see it empty. I like to see everybody getting to the right place. The only way you can do that is, with love, kindness, caring, sharing. You can only do that, by doing righteous, not evil. And I can't control what other people do, but I can control what I do. And I'm, that ain't me. It hasn't ever been me, you know. It wasn't me. I wasn't, I haven't ever been evil at all. Period. I'm not an evil person. I've always been a very good person. Actually, I tried to help. I tried to help evil by standing up against it, showing it how it doesn't like what it's doing to other people. But they don't learn. They know not what they do. And, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it no more. I'm not going to do it no more, Um, it's not, it's not my job. It's not my job to try to lead these evil people into heaven. It's not my job. It's their job. It's their job to stop being evil. You know, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, right? And I think I'm finally understanding. You know, sometimes God will put us on a path to understanding. What I'm saying is, I think God put me on a path to understanding. I was trying to be a mirror reflection of these people who was coming at us sideways. That was coming, all their hatred coming at us sideways. I was trying to be a mirrored reflection to them, hoping they would change. And I worked with them, and I worked with them, and I worked with them. You know, I love them, but I don't like them because they're evil, and they're mean, and they're bullies, and they just talk about us really bad, and for whatever reasons, I don't know. I don't care. Um, but I tried, I tried letting them see what they look like and hoping they stop. But they don't. They don't. They just take it as a green light to do more, to hate more, to be more, even more evil. And it's not my job. You know, my job is to tell them, hey, you got a heaven to gain, the hell to shun. You gain that heaven through Jesus Christ. The only way to God is through his son, Jesus. And you got to, go through Jesus to get to God. You need to repent of your sins, and you need to, you need to get your eyes open. You need to get baptized, your eyes open. If they don't listen, that's not my problem. Not my problem. I have to, I have to tell them. I have to tell them that is my job, is to tell them. But I don't have to, I don't have to fight to try to get them, to turn to the righteous side. I don't have to do that. That I was just throwing that in extra because, I'm a caring person. I'm a very caring person. I like to see everybody go to heaven, not somebody. I try to show people what they look like, hoping they change, but they don't. But they don't. And, I think it was just a walk. It was just a walk with the Lord to show me how tired God gets with working with people as well. Because now I know, I got a view. I got a view of how tiresome it can be to keep working with someone that doesn't want, to be righteous. And I understand fully why God turns his back on people, turns them over to a reprobate mind. Because, your mercy can only extend so far, and it's over. Yeah, that's so true. So true, Jackie. And I'm gonna tell you, they just spread lies after lies after lies, and God's the truth. I tell the truth. Haters hate the truth. Haters do not like to hear the truth because it irritates their evil spirits, right? It irritates that, those evil spirits that they let house them up. They don't like to hear the truth. And, and the devil is the, father of all liars. I hear people out here quoting the Bible. They act like they're talking to PG. They're quoting the Bible. They don't even know the Bible. The Bible don't even say what they're saying. They're liars. They're not only liars on what they're not only putting false witness against PG and my chat, but they're also, lying about the Bible. They're saying what they've heard because they ain't ever took time to read God's word. They ain't ever took time to study the Bible, read the Bible, and learn the Bible. So they just put down, stuff they heard, which ain't even true. And that's sad. It's sad. And, and some of them are so uneducated that they have to write everything down because they're not able to mentally just come out and say what they need to say. They write it all down trying to sound educated, and they're not educated at all reading it off that paper. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Hey, girl. Hey, you missed me, PG. Hey, girl, I'm glad. I'm glad you hung up that tinfoil hat. I really am. God bless. Um. Anyway, I need to get back to what we was doing. Um. Last last night, not last night, the night before, we had gotten through a lot of the interview with Marlena. We didn't get completely through it. I'm going to I'm going to hold on off on that for a minute because I don't want us to run out of time tonight. I'm going to hold out on that for right now. Um, and if we have to, we could pick that back up tomorrow night. We can pick up tomorrow night where we left off tonight on that. But I wanted to, put out, you know, what what Fred Hill had to say about Cotton Simpson. You know, I want to refresh all of your memories with what he had to say about Cotton. Um, Ziggy came out, and, she wanted to post up part one and part two and part three and man, she really drug it out. She really drug it out for the you know, self gain, right? I mean, she put what you could put in one video in like five, you know, and really drug it out, because that's what evil humans do that really don't. I mean, she really cared about Summer Moon, Utah Wells. She really cared about, other humans. She wouldn't ever, hooked up with Fred Hill to begin with, right? If Siggy would have been the right kind of person, she wouldn't have been evil. She wouldn't have took Fred away from Laura, right? She wouldn't have did that. She wouldn't have went down there and befriended Fred and Laura and act like Laura's friend just to steal Fred away. I'm sure Fred wasn't too hard to steal, right? I'm sure he wasn't very hard to remove from Laura. I don't think he'd be too hard to remove from Ziggy if somebody wanted him. But to be honest with you, you know, Fred kind of goes whichever way the wind's blowing, right? But point being is, she wanted to run that for, 1, 2, 3, 4. I tell you, I got it all. I got it all. And I'm going to tell you another thing. I seen on those where there was a lot of, comment like been deleted. I didn't ever delete not one comment um, between me and Fred. I did not ever delete not even one. So they did that. They removed. I ain't sure exactly what they've removed yet because I haven't had time to, go back and look at what they were trying to hide from everybody. But I have it all, every last bit of it. And I'm going to tell you, um, it's a lot. It's a lot, but it could be done. It could be done in a couple of videos, 1 or 2 videos. It can, you can see everything. Um, and I'm going to put out the real. I mean, if they wanted to, if they wanted to put out everything, and mess up a lot of stuff going on in Summer's case, which they did. Ziggy didn't care if she, messed up the investigation and everything going on with Summer's case. She didn't care, putting out all the stuff that's being discussed behind the scenes for this little girl. And so she didn't care. And she's already, I don't, and I'm pretty sure whatever she blocked out, was, stuff she didn't want you guys seeing. And I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I just didn't think that stuff should have been exposed so soon, because they're still looking into, Morrison Cemetery. They're still looking into, you know, some nooks and crannies up there upon Ben Hill and around Ben Hill. They're still looking into a few of these people, trying to get the information they can from different sources. Um, but but she's already, she's already let the cat out of the bag there, and that's fine with me, because I'm going to bring it all for everyone to see. And even the stuff that she tried to act like, was missing, you're going to see it. You're going to see it. I will put it, I will run it through and bring it out. See, the difference between me and them is I bring the truth. They don't. They hide shit. They hide stuff. Stuff that's going to make them look bad. They hide it. And I could tell in the videos they were hiding stuff. And I don't hide nothing. I don't hide anything. Ziggy knows that. So, and they probably think that, I don't have it all. I'm going to tell you now, I record everything. I make a rundown of everything. From the first day I talked to Fred all the way up until, well, just recently. I run a whole slideshow of it. I keep it all, because I know how people like to take stuff away, try to hide stuff, and, do their dirty little, fixes, right? They do their little fix on things, and it ain't going to happen. And that's why I keep all the receipts. That's why PG does what I do, because I don't want people being able to lie on me, about me, and I sure to hell, ain't going to put up with them, hiding stuff, from Summer's case. I will not let them, get away with deleting and taking out and putting in, on this baby's case. It ain't going to happen. I keep everything. I don't tolerate this kind of stuff. So I am working to get all of that together. There's about, Lord have mercy, there's a lot of, it's not only the chat like she showed you. It's not just the chat. I got like 40 hours of talking to Fred, like 40 hours of speaking with Fred. And here's a little bit of what Ziggy and Fred don't want you hearing, but I've already played it before. I'm just playing it again to refresh your memories. Now, did Don Wells, Don Wells is, and Candace both, they're adamantly saying, we don't know Cotton Simpson. We don't know this guy. We ain't never seen this guy. We know nothing about this guy. Is that true?
Well, I do know that Cotton, the last time I spoke to him, he was talking about being up at 110 the day Summer went missing. And he's talking about sleeping with mother and daughter. He didn't say whether it was Candace and Grandis or Summer and Candace.
Right. He said that Cotton said he was up there sleeping with mother and daughter, and he doesn't know if it was Grandis and Candace or Candace and Summer. What would even make him think? What would even make him think that it was Candace and Summer? Would you think of something like that? Just a yes or no. Just a yes or no, you guys. Be honest. Please be honest. Would you think about something like that? Would you think if somebody told you that they'd just been up on Ben Hill Road messing with a mom and a daughter, would you even think of putting a 5-year-old little girl Summer in the equation of that? Would you even think of that? I mean, you know, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I wouldn't even have thought about Summer. If I heard something like that coming out of this Cotton's mouth, if it was true and I heard that coming out of his mouth, I would immediately thought, Grandis and Candace, right? These two old bags that were all over Jose, that were, all over different men that come up there and stuff. I would think it's, the old women, right? The old ladies up there. I wouldn't even think of this child being in that equation at all. So, what does that say for Fred? What does this say for Fred Hill? Fred Hill put Summer into a an essay scene when he went up on the hill and seen her in a swimming pool with Jody Sue's son, right? Am I wrong? Or am I right? Am I right or wrong? Didn't he say he went up on 110 Ben Hill and he saw Summer in the pool with this Jody Sue's son, and was insinuating that it was an essay type thing going on between Summer and that and that young boy? Yes. That's what Fred said. That's what Fred insinuated. Yeah, he did. Matter of fact, I have, I've got that too. I've got that as well. Him insinuating it. He did, insinuate, that, that Jody Sue's son was, doing something disgusting with Summer. What was Fred doing up there? Because you know what it sounded like to me? I mean, this is my opinion, right? This is my opinion. Just saying. My opinion is Fred was up there, Fred was up there for his turn. It sounds like he was up there for his turn and didn't like seeing Jody Sue's son or thinking Jody Sue's son was going before him. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. And I think that's why he was able to put Summer in the equation with Cotton. I think that's why, he was saying, well, I don't know if it was Grandis and Candace or Candace and Summer. Right? Because, Fred was up there. And that right there proves that Fred knowed what was going down. That proves that Fred knows that they were up there, doing what Jody Sue said. Sedating little girls to be touched. Right? And Fred seemed to be up there too. Put a 1 in the chat if you think I'm right. Because you know what? I'm starting to believe I am. I'm starting to believe that I absolutely am. I didn't ever piece it together before. I didn't ever really take time to piece it all together before. It often bothered me that Fred, I often told you guys, I said, I don't know what Jody Sue's son had on his mind, but I sure to hell knew what Fred had on his. when he saw Jody Sue's son in that pool, right? I said, I know what he had on his mind. And I didn't like it. And I didn't like it. You know? Because I wouldn't have had that on my mind. I mean, only person that would have that on their mind is, is a person that does it. Is a person that is, evil enough to do it. Why would you think that way if you don't do it? Because I wouldn't have thought it. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion, right? Just saying. And, I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you at all, Stephanie. I don't. I hope to God not at one point too. I was hoping to God not, I didn't even want to think that these people were evil enough to do such an evil thing to little Summer. I didn't want, for Summer's sake, for this little girl's sake, I was trying to turn a blind eye to the truth, to what I had to eventually face. And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty, but you got to face it for Summer's sake in order to understand, exactly the tragedy that she went through at the hands of these evil human beings up there, right? And in my opinion, she went, that little girl didn't just walk through hell. They drug her. They drug her through it, right? They drug her through it as well. And, she was defenseless. She was just a baby. She's just a little tiny baby. Just a little girl. She couldn't defend herself. She screamed, she begged, she asked for help. Nobody would give it to her. She was just a little girl being overpowered by a force of evilness I don't think any of us could ever really comprehend, because it's that bad. It's that evil. It's that torturous. And this baby was at the hands of it all. Until it completely destroyed her. That's my opinion.
That's what kind of confused me, he didn't specifically say exactly which one.
Do you remember that right after Summer's disappearance that Don and Candace and all of them, they was acting really... Grandis ran the hell out of there. Andy Bernard ran the hell out of there.
Well, see, the law enforcement made Grandis leave because she's...
See, Fred lied. Fred lied on Grandis too. Fred's making shit up as he goes. He's acting like he knows when he don't know shit. Andrew in the freaking backstage right now. Andrew is in backstage. I'm going to tell you something, Andrew. Get lost. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. Get lost. I just kicked you. Go away. You're not welcomed here. You're not welcomed here in the presence of righteousness. Get out of here. We've turned over a new leaf on this channel, and we don't let evil beings like you anywhere near it. He left a message in the back chat. You must be doing that right now, Andrew. You must know what it's like. You must know what it's like to do that. You're just, every time you speak, you're speaking about yourself, right? How disgusting. How disgusting. You have to be you have to be educated, Andrew, to be able to actually talk about others instead of yourself. You got to actually know how, to separate yourself from other people before you can actually, and you have to know another person in order to really talk about them. You got to do a lot of research and study and to know what you're, you know, but you don't because you're just not educated enough to. You don't even know who you are. How would you know anybody else, right? I don't understand this guy. I really don't. You know, why doesn't Andrew just come out and tell the truth? Why doesn't he just come out and tell the truth? That his old boy came home shaking, rocking, rolling, shaking, teeth chattering, hair sticking up, freaked all the hell out after being out with Grandis and Candace that day, right? Why doesn't he just tell the truth about, the fact that his boy said Summer was wet on the pillow next to the driver's side door after they went swimming, meaning she was all wet against that driver's side door through Walgreens, right? When they went and through Sonic's and then, to the grocery store and all the way to his house. And he had to look at it. He had to look at it. And that's what, and that's what threw him in to over mode, right? Having to look at what and what is my opinion and what in my opinion was an unlived little girl that Candace was able to talk him into going into that water and doing a very dirty, sinister deed. Right? And I think when they got back to Hunter's house, that's where Summer was packed in, cleaned up, and then staged up on those milk jugs. And if the truth ever comes out, Andrew, in my opinion, your boy's going to prison for a long, long time. Your boy ain't going to be getting out. So best for you to leave PG alone. Because I'm going to tell you now, Andrew, there's a lot of people hanging around with your boy. A lot of people hanging around with your boy. Some of those people hanging around with your boy could be staged. Could be staged for information. Right, Andrew? You might want to go and hang out with your boy and keep people, make sure that nobody's hanging around with him that's going to collect data enough to put him in prison. That's probably what you want to do. Instead of over here messing with PG, you might want to be keeping an eye on your boy and who your boy's hanging with. All right, Andrew? Why don't you go do that little thing? Because we know that you, Andrew, suspect. If you don't know, you very much suspect the truth. And you know what the truth is. And I can't believe that you're cruddy enough to try to keep your boy out of prison after doing such a horrible deed to a 5-year-old little girl. My boy was to do something like that, and I'm going to tell you what, I'd give him up to law enforcement. Take him, lock him where he belongs so that he won't ever hurt anyone else. I don't want somebody that sinister around me, because if you could do something like that to a child, you could do it to anyone. I don't need that. I don't need that in my life. I'd have my boy locked away so I don't have to worry about him, right? Look at what happened to Allison after Hunter robbed her, right? Andrew, look at what happened to Allison after your boy robbed his mother. You think she told him she's going to go to the law and let the law know everything? And now she ain't around to tell nothing like Leslie. I think, I think Leslie went over to Allison's house and said, if you don't go to law enforcement and tell them whatever it was, I'm going to. And next thing I know, Leslie ain't no longer around. Then your boy robs his mom. And I'm sure she gave him the same line that Leslie did. Well, she ain't around now either, is she? Won't you let your boy come live with you for a while, Andrew? Your boy's so good. Won't you let him come live with you? Let's see how long you're around. Right? He's just in a back chat. Just back there and back there and back there. Backstage, just hanging around. You can hang there all night, Andrew. I'm not going to make you another thought. Because you don't mean that much to me. Your boy does. Your boy means a lot. Because, I think your boy's holding a dirty, dark, deep secret that needs to be told. The truth shall set you free, Hunter. The truth shall set you free. Nightmares stop when you tell the truth.
Not allowed around children, period.
Now, Grandis allegedly isn't allowed around children. Allegedly, she's not. But law enforcement didn't make Grandis leave. Grandis didn't leave till after Child Protective Services took the boys. She had a girlfriend up there. Grandis had a girlfriend up there helping her pack and load everything. And she stayed there all the way up until the boys were taken. Grandis didn't come flying off the hill throwing up dust until after the CPS took the boys. And that's the truth. That's the truth. And they didn't take the boys for a New York minute, right? They didn't take the boys for a few weeks. So, Grandis had herself right up there until that went down. Then she left. Then she got out of Dodge. Once those boys got gone, Grandis got out of Dodge because she thought arrests were coming. She thought they removed the boys and arrests were coming in, and she didn't want to be there when they did. So she took out of there. That's my opinion. I'll keep it. And, and Andy Bernard, he got out of there too. He went flying out of there right behind Grandis. They both left it, but that shows me Fred don't know what he's talking about. This guy lived right down the road and he don't know what the hell he's talking about. Well,
I do know that.
There was no children. They took the boys and Summer was missing. There was no children. So
she didn't come. See, she left and then come back after the boys was took.
Right. She took off. Actually, Grandis took the hell out of there after the boys were taken. And Andy Bernard, I don't know which one of them got out of there the fastest because Grandis went first. Andy went right after Grandis. Jody Sue went right after Andy. And the funny thing is right there after Cotton Simpson came up unalived, Cotton Simpson had quite a bit of money on him. He had just barely done. Was he at your house the day?
Yeah.
He was there
the day before.
The day before he ended up dead or the very
Yeah.
day
The day before.
he was at your home?
Yeah.
But he
The
wasn't.
evening before.
He wasn't.
Not the day that they found him. No, I didn't know nothing about that.
And you heard him. Let's go back and hear this. The evening before. The evening before. See, they found Cotton in the morning. He had been passed away the whole night. He had passed away the evening before, the night before, when when he was with Fred. That's when he got passed away. Not that morning. He didn't, no. They found him the next morning. And you just heard Fred say, yes, he was at my house that evening that he came up, unalived. He's at my house. Yes. Uh-huh. But then he tries to lie to everybody and say, no, he was there a couple weeks before. He was there, he's trying to separate himself from Cotton. And he also lied to everybody on Ziggy's just a couple weeks ago. He lied to everybody over there on Ziggy's. Put a one in the chat if you remember him lying and saying that Cotton had no money, that Cotton Simpson had no money. Because that's what he said on Ziggy's. He said that Cotton was at his place, but he didn't have no money. That, he didn't have anything. Right? Yeah, he said that. I personally heard it with my own ears. If I don't hear it with my own ears, I won't say it. But I heard it with my own ears. Yes, I did. And it was said. It absolutely was said. He said he didn't have no money and all of this. Well, I'm going to tell you something right here. Listen to this. Listen to this. But let's go back and listen to this little bit here too. The day.
Yeah.
He was there.
The day before.
The day before he ended up dead or the very day?
The day before.
He was at your home.
Yeah.
But he wasn't.
The evening before.
The evening before, right there. The evening before, that's when he ended up unalived. He ended up dead or the very day?
The day before.
He was at your home.
Yeah.
But he wasn't.
The evening before.
The evening before. The evening before. Right there, you guys. Boom. There you go. Bingo. Bingo. Now listen to this. He wasn't.
Not the day that they found him. No, I didn't know nothing about they even finding him. And Marvin Simpson came running to Fred's house because Marvin and Fred's the ones that followed Cotton the evening before. They're the ones that followed him the evening before. And as soon as Marvin, heard word that they found Cotton, he went and ran to tell Fred, oh, they found him. They found him. You know how it is. You know how it is when you commit a dirty dog deed, right? When you do something really evil and you wait to hear, about it through the grapevine. I mean, you're not going to go looking for it. You're going to stay where you're at and wait for it all to come to you, right? Because you ain't no damn idiot. told me that they had found him. That he told me that Betty Joe Simpson had called him and told him that they had found Cotton and stuff, and that he had a big gash in the back of his head and stuff. That's why they give me a polygraph, because they hadn't released that he had a gash in the back of his head. And the only reason I knew is because she had told Marvin, and Marvin.
Right. The only reason he knew, she wouldn't have known because law enforcement didn't let it out. They didn't tell nobody. That's why Fred had to take that lie detector test, because they told no one about that gash in Cotton's head like that. They didn't tell anybody. And that, law enforcement took him off. They kept everything on the low. They didn't say nothing about it. And, and him and Marvin, they knew. Marvin's like, somebody else told me, and Fred's like, somebody, and Marvin told me, no. I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, they knew because they did it. They did it. And he couldn't even pass the polygraph. Fred did not pass that polygraph. It came out freaking inconclusive, meaning that, you pretty much mother freaking failed it, right? You pretty much fouled it. You were lying. You were lying. You was trying to ride the safe line. You was trying to ride that safe line.
And they told me.
Right.
And that's the only reason I knew,
Right. And hold on, I'm trying to find out exactly when Cotton passed away.
Best I remember, it was, I want to say February the 14th or something. Of 2023, maybe. I'm not for sure.
Yeah. February. He knew the exact date, baby. He knew the exact date. And I'm going to tell you, when people know, like I said, if I know the exact date someone passes away or somebody's born, that is a significant day to me. It means something. It means something, right? When you know exactly when someone is born or passes away, or and all of this, it's usually a child of yours, a parent of yours, somebody really close to you, somebody very close to you is, how you remember. Unless it's like, on Christmas or, a special holiday like the 4th of July or, and you might know the 4th of July, you may know, Christmas, but you ain't going to really remember what year if they weren't super significant to you, right? You're not going to remember the year. You might remember, a tragedy on the 4th or tragedy on, something happened, and it was a big buzz and it's a holiday. It might stick with you because, the holiday is like, what's stuck in your head, not the person, but the holiday and when it all went down. But other than that, if it ain't someone, a loved one or something, if it's significant to you and you remember, exactly what day it is and what year it is, you probably got something to do with it. That's just my, my opinion. Because Cotton ain't no family to Fred. And he wasn't really, they called him a bugaboo. So he wasn't really a friend to him, So what would be so significant that would make Fred remember the exact day, the damn day and time and everything, what would be so significant about that for Fred? Because he got that date right on the money, baby. And I'm going to tell you, and that's the one thing law enforcement knows. They know if you remember something like this, in detail, and this person ain't that close to you, oh, you a suspect and a half now, right? You're a suspect and a damn half.
True. Seemed like that's what date I remember somebody saying. I'm not for sure.
February the 14th, 2023. Exactly on the money. Exactly. He knew. You hear him say, I think, he knew he screwed up. He knew he screwed up when that date came out of his mouth. He's like, oh shit, I shouldn't have known that. Right? I shouldn't have known that. He was trying to wiggle like the worm and get out of it. Nah, you done screwed up, buddy. Exactly.
But see, Cotton used to work at Warriors Path up there as a maintenance before, a few years before Summer went missing and stuff.
And he came out on disability.
Yeah.
And he was getting quite a bit of money. He had been in jail for 6 months, and that money had piled up in his bank account, which would have come to around $18,000. It's what he would have had in his bank. And when he was Now, he was at your house, and then the following morning he was found dead.
The next day, sometime the next day, I don't know what time.
He was found
They
dead. Okay.
hikers. They said some hikers had found him or something.
Right. The next early in the morning. Early in the morning. And Don and Candace, he said he was up there. Now, could he have left your house and stopped by the Wells house?
No, because me and Marvin actually had followed him and stuff to the top of the mountain, and we turned around that top of the mountain at the Mountain View at the stop sign,
Right.
because when
me and Marvin followed him, we followed him up the Mountain View, and then he says we turned around. I don't believe they turned around. I do not believe they turned around. He said that him and that other guy, the same Marvin, they come running to tell him that, Cotton's been found. Fred knew he was going to get found, right? Fred knew he was going to get found. Just when. They were waiting. They were both sitting, on, on that stoop waiting to hear the news, right? They were both sitting, wondering when is somebody going to, when is this coming out? And, as soon as the one heard the news, because he heard the news because he's freaking Cotton's own family, his own family hanging with Fred, doing dirty stuff with Fred. But, family will do that. Family, let me tell you, family will destroy you. They will destroy you, baby. You think your family's got your back? You're wrong. You're wrong. You might have their back, but you better open your eyes and get to know your family. You better put them to the test. You better put them to the test, because I'm going to tell you what, just because you got your family's back don't mean they got yours. Your family can be evil as hell. They could be evil as hell. They could be your worst enemy, and you don't even know it. You don't even know it because you don't suspect it. You don't suspect your family to do you so wrong, so horrible, so ugly, so sinister. You don't expect it. These are people you love, people you care about, people that you've watched over and you try to keep safe. You try to keep them safe. I mean, they ain't always going to like you. They ain't always going to like you for trying to keep them safe. But you do it because you love them, because you care about them, and you think that they care about you. But I'm going to tell you now, they don't. They don't. I'm going to tell you, family can be very evil. They can be very ugly, very hateful. And I'm going to tell you, this guy that's with, was with Fred was actually related to Cotton. But he's riding with Fred. And they follow poor Cotton up there, where he meets his demise, right? Where he met his demise.
he was at my house, he was wanting to buy a boat and stuff, and I was in partners with somebody else on the boat, and I told him I couldn't really price it right then. I had to get with them and stuff to take and find out what they wanted for their part, Right. And then he got to talking about he was worried about having money and stuff on him. And
Fred, we thought he didn't have no money. We thought Cotton didn't have no money, Fred. Yeah, Cotton had money right there. You said he did. And you give some bullshit boat story. Dude, you ain't gonna be buying no boat. You couldn't even buy what it took to keep your trailer standing up. Right? The walls of your mother freaking trailer was caving in. Your whole trailer was just like coming in on you. You couldn't even fix your freaking trailer. You're out scrapping. You're out scrapping cars just to get some cigarettes and and enough food to keep you going for another day. What are you talking about? You had no money for a boat. Right? He's up there piss freaking poor. Talking about buying a boat, that is BS. That is BS. That is a made up lie right there. Ain't none of them ever gonna buy no boat. These mother freakers weren't mother freaking fishermen. They were substance abuse users, distributors, right? Fred was down there. Fred was down there, not only manufacturing, not only making this stuff and distributing it, but he was using up all the profit, right? He was using up the profit. Him and his girlfriend. And I'm not going to say that's my opinion, because I got on recording, Laura's plainly stating that she had to stand outside the bathroom for like 2 to 3 hours waiting for her, for her share of it after Fred got done taking all he wanted and giving her the scraps. Yeah, I got that on recording.
I don't know why he was talking about worried about getting robbed or whatever, but me and Marvin actually followed him we was trying to make sure he made it home or whatever, but once he got to the top of the mountain, instead of turning left to go to his house, he turns right and goes towards Betty Joe's, because Betty Joe lives on that same, right past where the cemetery and stuff, where they found his vehicle.
Right. They found his vehicle right at the cemetery. Right there at the cemetery. Right? And it was perfectly parked. And I'm going to tell you, they're trying to say that, the vehicle wasn't running. That car was parked. When a vehicle, stalls on you, you ain't going to get it parked that damn good as that vehicle was parked up there next to the cemetery. No way you're going to be able to park it like that. So that is pure BS. Pure BS. And I'm going to tell you, all the cigarettes he had inside of his vehicle and the seat that was seen by a couple people earlier that day, before Cotton went to Fred's, they seen a ton of cigarettes that Cotton had by. He said he was making up time. They said, "Why you got all them cigarettes?" He said, "Because I'm making up time," because he'd been in jail for so long. And he was, and he thought, he was laughing. He was in a really good mood. He just got out. He was getting plenty of smokes. He was, going to go see his good old buddy Fred. He had, finally had some money in his pocket. Now, people he thought he could trust, he found he couldn't trust at all, right? He should have knew better. Because I'm going to tell you something. These are the kind of people right there, they'd unlive you for $1. These are people that would unlive you for $1, because $1 is a lot of money to these people. Just imagine if you had, a freaking knot that would choke a horse, right? Just imagine if you had that in your pocket. Because that is exactly what Cotton was packing, right?
And I thought, well, maybe he's going over there or something to hang out, because he does go over there and hang out with them a lot.
Right. So you didn't follow him no further. You guys just went back to the house.
Yeah.
And the next morning he was found over there dead.
Yeah, I didn't find out till like 4 o'clock or something the next day. I think it was around 4 o'clock that Marvin had come and had mentioned it.
Now, didn't you feel that he was trying really hard to convince me that he didn't know nothing about it? That he had no ideals until Marvin comes and tells him all about it? I'm going to tell you, innocent people don't try that hard to convince you that they didn't do something, because they don't have to. They don't have to. Right? They don't need to do that. Yeah. I just wanted to put this back in your minds fresh, because you heard him say Cotton had money. That's why they was following him. Right? That's why they was following him. But yet he was telling everybody, change the story up like he has on the Summer Wells case, right? Like he has on Summer's case. Change the mother freaking story up a whole lot of different times. A whole lot of different times. You know, first, Cotton's at his place, but no money. Then Cotton wasn't at his place. He was there a few weeks before. Then, and he still was broke. And then he comes back and yeah, he was around my place. Oh, I don't remember the day before, maybe a couple of days before. I don't remember, but he was broke. And then, but finally we got the truth out of him, right? Finally, we got the truth out of him. He admits, yeah, Cotton was there. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, this is what I was talking to Fred about behind the scenes, you guys. So you go right ahead and you post your BS, Ziggy. Post your BS, okay? Because I'm going to tell you something, the difference between me and you. I'm a professional and you're not. There you go. Right? I'm a professional, you ain't. I don't get involved with suspects. I get the information needed for the victims out of these suspects. Unlike you. You can't get nothing out of them because you're trying too hard to be in with them. That's a problem. That's a problem. Right? But these are the conversations that I was having with Fred. Like 40 hours of conversations about different people on Ben Hill Road. Tons and tons of texts about different things and people and parts of the case and so forth and so on. You got to give a little to get a lot, right? Yeah, what I'm saying is you got to talk about what you know about the case a little bit in order to get them talking and tell you a whole lot of stuff. And then you feed them a little bit of something, and then they'll give you a whole lot, right? And that is how you figure out exactly what really happened and went down in these kids' cases. You got to know what the hell you're doing. And I'm going to tell you now, they ain't nothing on Ben Hill Road. I don't know. I'd have to go see an eye doctor. I would have to go see an eye doctor if anything, actually in all of Rogersville, Tennessee, if anything in the whole Rogersville, Tennessee was to, any of it was able to turn PG's head, I'd have to go see an eye doctor. Right? Because I know something's wrong with my eyes. If anything down there is looking good to me, there's definitely something wrong with my eyes. And if my eyes turn out to be okay, then I'm going to take the next step. Right? I'm going to take the next step. It's going to cost about $200 an hour. But I figure I need the help. It's worth it. Right? There you go. It's like, ring, ring, ring. Hey, Doc, I need to come in, lay on the sofa for a while. I got to talk to you. Right? You're going to have to screw my head back on right. All right? I had to get my head screwed back on right. Get a good swift kick in the pants. I have to get that steel toe boot in my own pants, get my brain working again. But you heard it. You heard it for yourself. I still think Donnie had a hand in his mom's death and Candace's sister too. You know what? It's very possible. I'm not ruling any of that out because um, even though Don and Candace was, at the time Rose went missing, Don and Candace, was in was over in Arkansas. They were still in Arkansas because Candace had a assault charge on her at that time. She had an assault charge after it was after Rose went missing. Candace had an assault charge against her put against her by Don Wells' daughter's boyfriend. I guess Candace tried to go at the boyfriend and and they put assault charges against Candace over there in Arkansas. So and and I believe it was JLR that showed proof to that. I'm pretty sure it was JLR that showed the proof to that. I think I got the proof as well, but I'm sure it was him that first initially brought it out and showed it that Candace was. They were still in Arkansas, but that doesn't mean that they didn't haul it to Wisconsin. Like right now, they're in Tennessee, but also they go over to Kentucky, they go over into Virginia, West Virginia. So, you don't ever know where they truly are. You don't know where they truly are. They could have been in Wisconsin at the time Rose went missing. We don't know. We don't know. Right? I mean, and I heard allegedly grandma gave law enforcement the wrong plate number to Rose's car. Why would you do that? She gave them the wrong plate number. She also was driving past the car every day on her way to work and back. How could you be riding past your daughter's car and she's missing? How could you be riding past her car for mother freaking weeks and not spot it? And that's kind of suspicious within itself, right? It's kind of suspicious within itself. So I don't know. I ain't sure what happened to Rose. I mean, as far as I know, Granny could have been having some kind of affair with Rose's husband. I mean, look what happened to Allison, right? Look what happened to Allie. She brought her man up there on 110, and next thing you know, you got Candace and Grandis, both of them, trying to get some of that. So it is what it is. Look at the dates of the police report and the child actual birthday. Rose goes missing approximately 30 days before the first Wells child is born. Yeah. And they were and they were pretty dangerous during that time too, because when Candace was carrying that oldest boy, there was a lady in Arkansas that opened her door, let Don and Candace move in because Candace was in the family way, and she felt sorry for him. And they trapped this old lady at her refrigerator. Don and Candace both trapped her in the kitchen at her refrigerator. And she felt, I guess she was fearing for her life, her safety. And, she pushed Candace out of the way to try to get, to get free of these guys. Luckily, there was another woman inside the house that did get out and went and got help. And law enforcement came. But Candace, tried to act like this woman assaulted her and stuff. And anyway, the woman ended up going, they took her downtown on old charges, not that charge, but something else. And Don and Candace tried to take over her house, tried to take over her place, and was going to squat in there. They was going to squat in there, like not let her come back in her own home. They was going to squat there. And the landlord had to get law enforcement come in and have them remove Don and Candace out of there, because they had no rights being there to begin with. And, and they moved on. They moved on with themselves. But they were very dangerous. These were two very dangerous people. Yeah. Um, yes, he did. Yes, he did. Brenda. Yes, he did. And I tell you something about he just barely married her. He wasn't even married to Rose a few months. And they had two kids, and it seemed like that this guy married her just to get custody of the kids, right? And he tried to divorce her and get custody of the kids, but the court wouldn't let him. The court, mommy's babies, right? It wasn't going to. So he went back to her. He dropped the divorce, went back to her, and then she came up, disappeared. So that's suspicious too. And this guy didn't ever get remarried. He hasn't ever gotten remarried. He's just living in a house with two little girls, which that seemed like what he was after from day one, right? And he's been living with them ever since. And he really doesn't show you know, no interest in outside women, anybody else, which I find very strange. Candace won't speak of her brother in law. She's afraid of him, in my opinion, and what I heard. I don't think Donnie Candace is afraid of anyone, to be honest with you. Donnie Candace is full of crap. That's just my opinion, Brenda. Um, I don't think that Candace is. They try to say they were afraid of Fred and Fred, and no. Candace and Don Wells are not afraid. I'm going to tell you, Candace and Don Wells is way more evil. They're way more evil than the average people. Trust and believe me. I mean, I don't think anybody would want to know how dark and evil them two people are. That's my opinion. Um, Mary Hartman, you could be very possibly right, sweetie. Watched your cooking show the other day, and I so enjoyed watching. Oh yeah, I love Mary. I love Mary. And she was having a contest. You could win a quilt, and I put it out. I put it out on Facebook. I was hoping a lot of people go over and try to win. Um, Try to win the quilt. She's got some beautiful quilts that she gives away every so often, and she sells them too. Beautiful quilts, and I'm gonna tell you, you could really learn how to make some really fine food watching Mary's channel. She's good. She's a good cook. Absolutely. Oh, you're a most welcome, girlfriend. And I wanna thank you. I wanna thank you for having such a beautiful channel where PG gets a lot of ideals. I get a lot of ideals from Mary's channel for different meals and little things to put together for holidays and stuff like that. Um, I tell you, just if like if you're going to a cookout, last minute, you get a invite to a cookout or something, and you're scrambling. What do I do? What Click on Mary's videos, because I'm going to tell you, she will give you a great idea, something to whip up really quick, really fast, and everybody will be raving over it, right? When you get it there and you put it on the table, there'll be people coming up to you, like, oh, that's so good. You got to give me the recipe and everything. And, I tell them I got it off of YouTube, a girlfriend's channel, she got a great channel. And, I just give them her channel. I tell them she got all kinds of beautiful recipes on there. Absolutely. So, yeah, it's worth watching. Her channel is definitely worth checking out, you guys. God bless her. God bless her. She's a beautiful human being. Mary is a kindring spirit. She's a kindring spirit, and she's a righteous spirit. She believes in law. She believes in justice. She believes in God. She believes in doing all things right. And I'll tell you, that's a hard find in this world today. So, absolutely. Make sure you guys check out her channel, because she's a blessing. She is a blessing. Don and Candace's next living place will be, it might be. I'm going to make Philly cheesesteak pasta tomorrow. Oh, girlfriend, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to try to be there for that. Tomorrow, Sunday, I'm going to try to be there for that. I don't have to work tomorrow. I get tomorrow off. I'm going to be doing happy dance. Hopefully PG's feet hit the floor tomorrow morning doing a happy dance. Right? God be with me. But I told you guys I had an AI video I wanted to show you tonight. It's not like this. It's not like this stuff right here. This is BS and nothing but lies and a disgrace to the true crime community, a disgrace to the missing children. And like I said, out of pure respect for the missing children, I won't click into these channels. Absolutely not. I'm not going to give them no clout at all. Because, the other channels work too hard. They work too hard. Justin, JLR, Dolly, all of these channels, Snally. There's so many channels working way too hard, including us, work way too hard for these missing kids to be, putting up with this kind of stuff. So I click into the channels I know are righteous and doing all they can righteously for the missing children. But anyway, that is just that stuff right here. Paid no attention to it, you guys. Paid no attention to it. Just pass it on up. It's very disrespectful to this community. But here's an AI video that PG made. I made it. We made it because it's here on our channel. We made it, and it's full of truth. It's full of truth, right? But I wanted to just show you how AI can also, add their own little stuff in there, as well.
Fred Hill's trailer leaned against the Tennessee hills like a rusted-out garbage can. Its rusted siding sagged in patches, nails protruding like broken teeth. The smell of mildew, rotting wood, and something sour, almost metallic, clung to the air, seeping into anyone foolish enough to come close.
See, that's all true. All right? That's all true, you guys. That's all true.
Fred had lived there for as long as anyone could remember, on a stretch of road where the asphalt gave way to dirt and the woods whispered secrets through the cracks in the trees. Inside, the trailer was a world of contradictions. The floor sagged under a patchwork of old rugs and cardboard. The kitchen was cluttered with broken appliances and cans that had long since passed their expiration dates. And then there were the pants. People whispered about the pants. They were stiff, and when Fred removed them, they stood upright on their own in the corner like silent sentinels. Some said it was a trick of starch. Others said it was something else entirely. Fred never explained, and most avoided asking. The bathroom, or what passed for one, was a rain barrel tucked behind the trailer. There was no toilet paper, and rumor had it he used corn cobs, or sometimes nothing at all. There was a certain unsettling permanence to the trailer, as if it were alive, watching, waiting. Visitors, when they were brave enough to come, often felt eyes on them even when no one was there. Fred's life, though outwardly mundane, had a dark complexity. He had a girlfriend, Laura, a wiry woman with eyes that flickered with suspicion and fear, and a history of living in Fred's orbit that made some neighbors uneasy. Both were considered suspects in the disappearance of Summer Moon Utah Wells, a mystery that still haunted the county. June 15th, 2021 started like any other day for Fred. He claimed that he and Laura had been hauling cars to a crusher, a routine errand, before stopping at the store for needed items and returning home around 7:30 p.m. When they arrived, everyone was searching for Summer. Their initial statements put them far from the scene of her disappearance. For a moment, the timeline seemed clean, but the story unraveled. Fred and Laura began changing their narrative. In their second version, Fred claimed he saw Donald Wells coming off 110 Ben Hill Road around 3 p.m. as they left for the crusher. But then the crusher was closed. They returned home after grabbing something to eat. Simple mistakes, perhaps. But by the third story, the contradictions were glaring. Fred's cousin, Andy Bernard, allegedly blocked the driveway while suspicious vehicles came and went. A man in one, a woman in another. Fred said he was forced to leave to help a man with a broken-down motorcycle. He returned, loaded it onto his trailer, gave the man a lift to a gas station, and claimed he never saw him again. Later, he changed it. It wasn't just one motorcycle, there were two. And he did know the man. Each retelling seemed...
Do you guys remember that? Do you remember he said that he went back to the place, got his trailer, and gave this guy a lift? He didn't know him and dropped him at a station and hasn't ever seen him again. And then the next time he's talking, he's like, well, it wasn't one motorcycle, it was two motorcycles. And yeah, I did know the guy. And then he was telling about it being this one dude. Oh my gosh. Right? And Fred, man, I'm telling you.
seemed to warp the truth further. Investigators were left questioning whether Fred knew what actually happened or if he was deliberately obfuscating the timeline. Fred's reputation was as unsettling as his shifting alibis. He was a known substance abuser and distributor, prone to violence and intimidation. Stories circulated about lost travelers, parents and children stopping in front of his trailer and meeting his wrath. Dirt bikers passing too close to his property found themselves threatened, sometimes physically assaulted. The fear surrounding him was tangible. Some speculated it stemmed from his upbringing. Fred claimed his mother was a witch, deeply involved in rituals and spells. She possessed a talking stick, he said, which she would place under his father's chair to silence him until she allowed him to speak. Neighbors whispered that children had been kept in the basement and that Fred was always cleaning up after his mother's messes. He insisted he had lived in terror, fleeing early in the morning and returning only after dark to avoid her. Whether he was victim or accomplice remained uncertain. The talking stick itself was a symbol of mystery. In indigenous cultures, a talking stick allows the holder to speak while others remain silent, a tool of fairness and authority. But Fred's stories twisted it into something darker, something oppressive, a manifestation of control and fear. Whether it was real or imagined, it haunted his narrative. As night fell on Ben Hill Road, the trailer seemed to close in on itself, the shadows growing long and uneasy. On June 15th, a witness later claimed to have seen Fred trying to leave the road around 8:39 p.m., long after his stated return home. Law enforcement had instructed him to turn back, citing the unusual circumstances of the search. Whatever urgency Fred claimed, no one knew. The questions lingered. What was so important? What had he seen? Fred Hill's world was one of contradictions, but also of darkness that felt alive. His pants still stood in corners, upright, watching. The trailer groaned under the weight of years and secrets. The forest outside whispered rumors and warnings as if the trees themselves were keeping their own vigil. And somewhere in the shadows, the mystery of Summer Moon, Utah Wells remained unsolved. As days passed, investigators found that Fred's story was layered with deception, perhaps deliberate, perhaps born of a fractured mind. Every witness had a different recollection of his movements. The motorcycles, the vehicles blocking the driveway, the interactions with Andy Bernard, even Laura's accounts, all conflicted. No one could establish a concrete timeline. Neighbors spoke of Fred's unusual behavior long before the disappearance. There were stories of screams in the night, of objects moving on their own in his trailer, of strange rituals he performed in the yard. Some said he muttered to himself about things unseen, while others swore they saw him speaking to shadows. The fear he evoked was both real and instinctive, a primal response to a man whose life seemed to exist outside the boundaries of normalcy. Fred himself seemed to oscillate between moments of charm and menace. One moment he would laugh, offering small gifts or polite words. The next, he would erupt in rage at minor slights, threatening anyone who crossed his path. Substance abuse appeared to exacerbate these episodes, and his girlfriend Laura was often present, though her role remained ambiguous, complicit, frightened, or both. The legend of the talking stick added another layer to Fred's story. Some believed it was merely a childhood memory twisted by trauma. Others suggested it was a talisman, a dark object passed down to enforce silence and obedience. Fred described it vividly: carved wood, etched with symbols he never explained, imbued with the power to control. Whether it existed in reality or only in his recollections became a point of fascination and fear. Investigators pieced together the fragments of June 15th with increasing frustration. Fred and Laura's accounts were inconsistent. Witnesses placed Fred at different locations at overlapping times. Andy Bernard, who supposedly blocked the driveway, was confirmed to be at work all day. Donald Wells's movements were accounted for. Yet Fred's whereabouts remained murky, his intentions obscured by conflicting stories. Fred's childhood continued to loom over the investigation. Stories of his mother's influence, her supposed witchcraft, the children in the basement, the oppressive rituals, painted a portrait of a young man shaped by fear and compulsion. Neighbors like Marlena remembered him as both victim and accomplice, running errands for his mother, cleaning up messes, bearing witness to acts that no child should endure. Yet Fred's adulthood suggested he had not entirely escaped that environment. The aggression, the manipulation, the fascination with control all hinted at a continuity of influence. Substance abuse, threats, and violent outbursts seemed to echo the chaos of his upbringing. Some speculated that the disappearance of Summer Moon, Utah Wells might have intersected with these tendencies in ways the public could not fully understand. The trailer on Ben Hill Road, the talking stick, the standing pants, the rain barrel bathroom, all became symbols in the local lore, markers of a man who existed at the intersection of fear, mystery, and unresolved trauma. Every passing day without answers deepened the sense of dread. The final chilling piece was the unanswered question. What had Fred been doing at 8:39 p.m. when he attempted to leave Ben Hill Road. Law enforcement had intercepted him, but the reason for his urgency was never revealed. That night remained shrouded in ambiguity, a critical fragment missing from the puzzle of Summer Moon Utah Wells's disappearance. Fred Hill remained an enigma. To the world, he was a man of violence, addiction, and mystery. To some, he was a product of a traumatic past, a child shaped by fear and superstition. To others, he was something darker, a figure whose motives and actions defied understanding. And to the shadows that lingered in the hills, in the woods, and in the corners of the trailer, Fred Hill was both witness and participant in a story whose ending had yet to be written. The truth of June 15th, 2021 lay buried under layers of lies, fear, and speculation. The talking stick, whether real or imagined, remained lost. Summer Moon Utah Wells remained missing, and Fred Hill, standing at the center of it all, remained a man whose story was far from complete, a living testament to the horror and mystery that can exist just beyond the edge of ordinary life. Ben Hill Road, in its quiet, unassuming way, held its secrets. The trailer, the trees, the dirt road, they remembered, and Fred Hill, for all his contradictions, remained the gatekeeper of those memories, a man entwined with the darkness in ways no one could fully unravel. Because some truths are never fully revealed, some shadows never lift, and some mysteries, like the disappearing of Summer Moon Utah Wells, remain eternal.
Here you guys go. Fred got his free fan, right? He got his free fan. he got his free. He got his free fan, right? Pam came up the other night. While Fred was watching and let him know how to get a free fan, and now he's got one. Right? Oh my goodness. Anyway, right? But yeah, I'm telling you, a lot of people start Christmas early, right? Like we started in July. We start watching Christmas shows in July. Christmas in July, a lot of us started early. I love Christmas. I ain't ashamed to say it. I love it. But I'm going to tell you, these people, they be starting Halloween, right? They be starting Halloween. They start Halloween. Actually, to be honest with you, they don't start it. They keep it all year long. Right? Here they are. Fred and Laura trick-or-treating. And look who's handing out the candy. Right? Good old Ziggy. Ziggy's handing out the candy, but not before she puts woo-woo on it. She got to put woo-woo on it first. Right? Woo, woo, woo. Does the candy want to go with you? Right? That's what she's saying. She's like, woo, woo, woo. Does the candy want to go with you? Did you know, Ziggy, she want to keep it all. She want to keep it all, you guys. Right? It cracked me up. They cracked me up, you guys. But anyway, That was an AI video. That was an AI video, but but it took a lot of writing. It took a lot of writing, you know, to make it true, to make it, to make it true. But but you've seen how AI put, like its own little spin here and there, uh, you know, in it as well. That's how AI videos do. You basically, you basically, um, you could put a few words, or you could put, or you could, write pretty much the whole story as in truth, put it in there, and then, and then they'll put their own, their own little spin on it for you, their own little spin, and, turn it into like what you just saw. But the reason that the video you just seen, told 99.9% of truth is because I wrote it all. It's from all the research we do and we've done, and I took time to write it all, write it all down. So that's how it works. I just wanted to give you guys an idea, and you could see the fake AI videos that these people's putting out there. They're not taking the time to do, to learn about the case, do all their homework, and and actually tell the truth, the truth about these cases. They're just, like I said, they're copying here, copying there what they can, about the case, putting it into AI and saying make up a big story, and AI does it, and that's what they're putting out there on you, and it's just clickbait. It's clickbait for you to click in on. I wouldn't click in on that stuff, but AI can be used. AI can be used for the good. It could be used for the bad. What I'm saying is it could be used for the truth, to get out the truth, or it can be used to, to as clickbait, basically. And that's what's the difference between the video we made and the videos they made. Theirs is clickbait. Ours was, time spent and truth put into it. So, good versus evil. Good versus evil, you guys. Right? Exactly, lockdown. Listen, you guys, put a one in the chat. Put a one in the chat if you would like to see more AI videos like the one you just watched. If you'd like to see more AI videos like of Jody Sue, Grandis, Candace, Donald, with the truth weaved into it. Put a one in the chat. If you enjoyed that video, would like to see more of them, I can make more of them. Yeah, it was. It was. I want to see one of the whales, right? I'm not sure what happened to Ernie. I have him. I have him on Facebook. I'm going to hit him up and see if he's okay, if everything's okay, everything's going good with him. Hopefully I'll get a response back. But I will check in on Ernie, to see if he's okay. I love Ernie. I love Ernie. He's a good guy. He's for the missing kids. God bless him. God bless him. He just he's Ernie. He's Ernie, right? He gets himself into a fix or a mess here and there, and but he always gets out. He gets out somehow, some way. And but I will check in on him. I'll let you guys know, what I find out, what I hear, and what I find out. I'll let you guys know tomorrow night, God willing. God willing, we're back here and and um, looking further into into these missing children's cases. Um, but I got to say, God willing, right? You got to always say God willing, because it's His will. It's His will. If you're gonna be here, you ain't. So God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. But listen, you guys, PG's got to get out of here. I think I've kept you long enough, and I appreciate every one of you coming. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel, and I mostly, and above all, appreciate you supporting these missing children, and and supporting God with righteousness. God bless each and every last one of you who truly love and work as hard as PG does for these missing kids. I know all of you guys put time in as well, and I so appreciate it. So God bless. Much love to each one of you. I'm going to say good night, but not before I asked you to send the prayers up for Summer Moon, Utah Wells. I will not leave until I ask prayers for this little girl, because I know there is power in prayer. And from our lips to God's ears, He hears us through His Son, Jesus Christ. In Jesus' holy name, God hears us. He will answer. I think He is answering. He's pulled a lot of truth to the light. A lot of things we didn't know before has came forth. And I'm sure God will continue to pull it to the light until we know exactly what happened to this little girl and we get some justice for her. I truly believe that. So let us keep them prayers going up, and keep the prayers going up for Michael Vaughn, Sebastian Rogers, Jack and Lily Sullivan, and keep them going up for little Emmanuel and the people around him that truly loved him and did not like to see what was done to him. So let us pray for them. Let's pray that they find some type of comfort in all of this. And let's pray that this little guy is found, that he is found, and whatever the situation may be, that, he's looked over and taken care of well. In the name of Jesus, amen. And keep the prayers going up for one another. I seen someone in here tonight, talking about prayers for Ernie. Yes, let us pray for Ernie. Let us pray for him and whatever he's going through. Let us pray that God and Jesus Christ is there and helps him as well. I pray that God and Jesus is with each and every last one of us in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Good night, everybody. God bless and much love.